With each new day brings a brand new hatchet job hit piece from Politico, and today is no different because we have this gem by Daniel Lippman, who reports ex-Clinton staffers slam Sanders over private jet flights. Now certainly, it's true that in this article, ex-Clinton staffers will in fact slam Bernie Sanders over his private jet flights when he campaigned for Hillary Clinton back in 2016. However, what this article doesn't tell you, what's missing here, is that Daniel Lippman himself also slams Bernie Sanders over private jet flights. Because, well, I mean, if you support climate change, then how dare you ride in an airplane? Now, in case you missed it, just in December, I was making fun of Fox News, Steve Doocy, Tucker Carlson for using the same right-wing argument against Bernie Sanders, but now you have a Politico, quote, journalist saying the same thing. Well, if you participate in society, then you can't be serious about climate change. Actually, individual decision-making isn't going to be what saves the planet. You have to do what's needed at the government level, not at the individual level. So here's what Lippman states. In his campaign launch video last week, Bernie Sanders singled out the fossil fuel industry for criticism, listing it among the special interests he planned to take on. But in the final months of his 2016 campaign, Sanders repeatedly requested and received the use of a carbon-spewing private jet for himself and his traveling staff when he served as a surrogate campaigner for Hillary Clinton. In the 2 years following the presidential election, Sanders continued his frequent private jet travel, spending at least $342,000 on the flights. Increased scrutiny of his travel practices, which are at odds with his positions on wealth inequality and climate change, are among the challenges Sanders will face as he makes his second White House run. Is that so? Are you honestly trying to convince us that Bernie Sanders has to take a car or a train or whatever? I mean, look, if you want to get the message out there and you want to travel to multiple states, 11 states in the span of a week, for example, as was the case in 2016 when he was campaigning for Hillary Clinton, then it's just a lot more efficient to travel via private jet. And if you're a politician, this is not something that's uncommon, but like a lot of critiques of Bernie Sanders, they'll hold him to a different standard. Now, I get that he talks about wealth inequality, and so, the optics may be bad. It's elitist to fly in a private jet, except he's running to be the president, and he was campaigning for someone who was running for president. So to criticize him here for this, it seems kind of fishy. It seems like you have an agenda. Because Bernie Sanders flies commercial when he doesn't need to be in 20 different places in the span of a week. But because he chose to use a private jet, you're trying to basically point at him and say, gotcha, which is the same thing the right-wing propaganda outlet Fox News did to him. So congratulations, Politico, for engaging in Fox News level of political discourse. This is what gutter politics looks like, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I want to get to the crux of this article here, where he talks about how Clinton staffers were irritated that Bernie Sanders asked to fly in a private jet. And this is just, it shows how smug and awful Hillary Clinton's team was. Bernie Sanders also faces another hurdle, hard feelings that remain to this day after the contentious 2016 Democratic primary. Many in the party continue to believe the Vermont senator played a role in contributing to Clinton's defeat in November because of his criticisms of her prior to the general election, and his refusal to concede earlier when it appeared he had little mathematical chance of securing the party nomination. And they are eager to point out Sanders' flaws and examples of what they perceive to be examples of hypocrisy now that the one-time underdog rates as one of the frontrunners in the crowded Democratic field. Quote, I'm not shocked that while thousands of volunteers braved the heat and cold to knock on doors until their fingers bled in a desperate effort to stop Donald Trump, His Royal Majesty King Bernie Sanders would only deign to leave his plush DC office or his brand new second home on the lake if he was flown around on a cushy private jet like a billionaire master of the universe, said Zach Petkanis, who was the director of rapid response for the Clinton campaign. Seriously, it's Bernie Sanders who is his royal majesty. It's not Hillary Clinton, who was her royal majesty, who had the DNC rig the election against Bernie Sanders, and then he was forced to campaign for her because he cared so much about stopping Donald Trump from winning. But he's your royal majesty?
Makes sense.
So they report that what Sanders' use of private jets ultimately cost the Clinton-Kaine campaign was about $100,000. Now, there was supposedly this understanding that when he would begin campaigning for her and acting as a surrogate, that he would fly commercial. However, there were instances during the campaign where he had to appear at multiple campaign stops across numerous states in a short span of time. So the reason why he requested a private jet was to be more efficient, to bypass TSA, and to just get there and actually help Hillary Clinton's failing campaign beat Donald Trump. But they still attack him for it after everything he did and after everything that was done to him, which is absurd to me. So I don't even feel angry when I read this article. I just feel pity, because these people are clearly just, they're angry and they're just butthurt at the fact that Hillary Clinton couldn't win an election that was a layup. And you've got to understand that when you look at the tight schedule and the 39 different campaign events that Bernie Sanders attended while acting as a surrogate for Clinton, I mean, it was basically physically impossible to make it to all of the campaign events that she needed him to be at. So he requested a private jet to help her, not because, oh, I'm just too good for that, because we see him flying commercial all the time. There are Reddit posts with Bernie Sanders in coach. So give me a break. I mean, nobody's going to be convinced that Bernie Sanders is elitist because he's still the same Bernie. He's still making the case for the American people. And Bernie's campaign responded to this, saying that he never insisted on having a private plane just for the sake of having a private plane. It was only requested when it was needed specifically to meet tight deadlines, nothing else. Now, what's hilarious to me is that it really shows how out of touch Hillary Clinton is when you look at one fact in this particular article. So she foot the bill for celebrities like Jay-Z, Beyonce, Katy Perry to all fly private. However, Bernie Sanders is who she took an issue with. Now they'll say, well, you know, we foot the bill for celebrities, but any political surrogates, we made them fly commercial. Except Bernie Sanders at that point in time was a celebrity. He was your most important surrogate because he had the millennial vote. You didn't. So Bernie was more important than celebrities, but they're not complaining about paying for Katy Perry or Jay-Z's private jet. They're complaining about Bernie Sanders. This is part of the reason why Hillary Clinton ran such a horrible campaign. She emphasized the importance, or really she prioritized celebrities over Bernie Sanders. Unbelievable. Now, Michael Briggs, who was Bernie Sanders' campaign spokesman at the time, responded to this article, and what he said, pretty much I was living for it. Quote, "You can see why she's one of the most disliked politicians in America. She's not nice. Her people are not nice," he said. Sanders busted his tail to fly all over the country to talk about why it made sense to elect Hillary Clinton, and the thanks we get is this kind of petty, stupid sniping a couple of years after the fact. It doesn't make me feel good to feel this way, but they're some of the biggest assholes in American politics, he added. Yeah, that's exactly it, because they still haven't really taken responsibility for their horrible campaign that they ran, because they have so much hubris that they can't possibly believe that they did anything wrong and that it has to be Russia or Bernie or everyone else to blame, but not them. Even if they didn't go to Wisconsin, if Hillary didn't set foot in Wisconsin, can't be Hillary, it can't be her campaign team, and they're incompetent, it's gotta be someone else. So, to kind of step back and put this entire article into context, this is a hatchet job against Bernie Sanders, not just because it was clear that this author was fishing for details that he could find from obviously bitter Clinton people to attack Bernie Sanders with, but he's also joining in with the course of attacks that are being lobbed against him by the Clinton people by using a right-wing argument. And if you don't believe me, this is what Fox News and Steve Doocy and also Tucker Carlson were saying about Bernie Sanders just last year when he was talking about climate change.
Okay, turns out Sanders is so concerned about climate change that he spent nearly $300,000 in 9 days flying around on private jets.
And if Bernie Sanders really believes what he's saying, why is he flying on private planes? I mean, it's a sincere question.
Got him!
So understand that Politico's getting so desperate that they're now publishing pieces that are comparable to hatchet jobs that you'd see on Fox News, literally. Embarrassing. And keep doing this, Politico, because you're only making us see your outlet for what it really is. An organization that is just there to serve the establishment and not present us the facts as they come. You have an agenda that you're trying to promote, and we're seeing that now more so than ever. We already saw it, but it's just crystal clear now, Politico, so thank you.
Subscribe if you like this video, folks. Mike's tremendous, and he's doing a really, really good job. Many people are telling me about how wonderful the Humanist Report is. Bigly.